Ebusia for Yama Obibia Aquaba Shonko so Ediba Ghana Politics Avenue so Ebesha Obibia says after Yano Original Case so like it, share subscribe to the channel and send your political trending news via Eco Tree Core remember Biano Ghana Politics Avenue so and I Japan say or the Papa Ababa Somo. And then you call political highway so na send me brain so got in 70 business see you know the oral team Mudi Diakon at the operation recover all you to know say no omapa aba bekasa abucho say OSP epe omonim guase OSP epe omodown for OSP ayan address obetwetwe nneoma ase ama disgrace aka NDC amamona omo ene abiye po omakasa akasa acheche movie eche OSP say the delaying and the disgrace of person or eka NDC no NC echna tese ano omo ebusa na say the main reason the main purpose of audit akonya no so dian anya sam keto akra omo storm on see pa omo buafo on see okudeto abranko aba because enya asam keto ebusia for yenje obi biara brambo so yen say obi biara so mrepi e rest am say mo bami akọ ne ye dia so akwakotie ensem a okafa ho ene owie ye de oka kire attorney general mida obi bia ase.
We've had every government go after previous government, officials to try to recoup or recover any monies that might have been misappropriated. If you remember, after the Akuffo administration, the Mills government went after those who were in charge of the Ghana at 50, the likes of Rekubrebe, Kwadjompieni, Jima, and even Honorable Asamoah from his stewardship at the Information Ministry and all that. I would applaud that government and the Minister government for the approach. We didn't see this media trial of cases then. They filed the charges, they went to court. At the end of the day, most of the accused were freed. In fact, all of them, not even one of them, was convicted of any of the allegations that were made against them. After that, we had the Akuffo government also come, and Madam Gloria Akuffo, the then AG, and Godfrey Dame went through the normal criminal proceedings, filing charges and making sure they take the evidence to court. We secured 5 main criminal convictions cases: the venture capital case, Maslock, the National Communications Authority case, Capital Bank case, and lost in the 214 case. That is justice, The facts didn't support his case, so he won, and the government convicted 9 out of the people who were, standing trial. There were other pending cases, and our colleagues came and they filed null prosecutor that they don't think they have evidence to continue with the prosecution of those, which I think was unfortunate, because their mantra then was Operation Recover All Loot, not Operation Recover NPP Loot. So how do you file a null prosecutor in the Collins Dawda case, a case which involved as much as $200 million, because you're supposed to build 5,000 houses and he put up 1,500.
They had 8 years to conclude that case.
Yes, but criminal prosecutions take time. I don't think anybody can tell me we don't have criminal cases pending in the courts which are more than 8 years. Why didn't the AG file a blanket null prosecutor for all criminal cases, but only filed for the politically exposed people? It means the intention was to free the NDC people. I think that was very unfortunate. Now, coming to the SML case, what occasioned this revenue assurance system? I have worked in the telecom sector before, and revenue assurance is very, very important. Every enterprise which has to do with revenue administration has some revenue assurance function which ensures that there are no leakages and manipulation in the system. The National Petroleum Authority has some oversight over lifting of volumes of fuel from the BDCs to the OMCs for sale and all that. But we all know the politics in that industry. So I think having an independent third-party oversight over volumes that are lifted, so that we will be able to calculate the appropriate taxes which the state is supposed to have, is a call in the right direction. Why am I saying so? I have some reports here. This is a report by the Ghana Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, alleging that there is underreporting in revenue in the downstream sector. This is an industry body. This is not a political body or a government body. Again, the Ghana Revenue Authority commissioned St0rms, which is also one of the big 4, to do an investigation on the need for revenue assurance in the downstream petroleum sector, or to find out if there are any leakages. What did they say? St0rms report from 2016 to 2018, which cuts across both NDC and NDC period, says there were inconsistencies in reported petroleum liftings by the MPA and GRA depots. There was no interface of GRA, that is their system, GCNet and MPA system. So the systems don't talk together. So how would they be able to compute the accurate taxes for the states? You know, lack of computerized data collection system at the point of petroleum lifting, where the OMCs lift from the BDCs. This computerized data collection system was lacking.
And then lastly, the name of the report is what again?
So this is the St0rms UI audit report, which was commissioned by the GRA to study potential revenue leakages from the period 2016 to 2018.
Okay.
And the last but not the least, the lack of a standardized reconciliation reporting of petroleum imports to petroleum sales. You know, so this revenue assurance and compliance system, which the Akroma administration at the Ministry of Finance, because the minister has oversight over the Ghana Revenue Authority, sought to do was supposed to help us plug all the leakages and make sure we get every tax that we're supposed to get as a country. Now, when the issue came up, the president didn't sit aloof, the president and President Akuffo, to say that because St0rms is part of my government and he started the implementation of this revenue assurance system, I will not commission any investigation into it. He commissioned an independent auditing firm, KPMG, which is a reputable international Big Four, to investigate and report back.
But you would admit that that was an operational audit. Operational audit is supposed to compare what was agreed in contract.
It was a holistic audit.
Yes.
If you allow me, I'll read the terms of reference briefly to you. They were supposed to ascertain the rationale or the need for the assessment performed prior to the contract approval by GRA. So the need for that system was part of it. They were also supposed to assess the appropriateness of the contracting methodology, because GRA operates under the Public Procurement Act.
Yes.
So part of the scope of assessment was to find out if they use the right procurement methodology in procuring the services of SML. So it was a holistic investigation. They were also supposed to evaluate the degree of alignment between the current activities and the stipulated contract scope. So the current activities regarding monitoring of the lifting of volumes of petroleum products vis-a-vis the proposed solution from SML, the gaps and the differences, to establish if there was a need really to bring a new system like that. They were also supposed to evaluate the value or the benefit that SML has so far offered to GRA through this contract, and also review the financial arrangements, including the pricing structure. So it was a holistic, investigation. Now, what did KPMG come out with after this investigation? They established that the quantities of increment in volumes lifted and reported to GRA over the period that the SML system had been adopted had increased by 2.45 billion Ghana cedis. An increment of 2.45 billion Ghana cedis. And if you look at the trajectory of, the increment in tax collection over the period, you don't have such increment year by year, anytime in the timelines. So this presupposes that it was the implementation of the system which resulted in the increase of the revenue. When operators in the downstream petroleum sector know that people are watching, and I have spoken to some people in the industry who have told me that there were times that they were using dipsticks, to insert dipsticks, dip them into tankers to measure the volume of oil being transported by the OMCs and all that. Very manual processes sometimes. So this is what, occasioned the proposal of such a system. Qualitative benefits. SML conducted 24/7 electronic real-time monitoring of the outflow and partial monitoring of inflows of petroleum products at deposits where SML has its flow meters and ATG. The ATG is a tool that they use for the measurement installed, So SML conducted 6 levels of reconciliation to identify avenues that may cause revenue loss to GRA. What were these 6 areas? SML readings versus the petroleum revenues lifted. They do the reconciliation comparison. SML volumes versus way bills or purchases orders by the OMCs to check if there were any gaps. ICAM's volumes. ICAM's is one of the systems that SEPs use, ICUMS,
yes,
versus way bills. OMC lifted amounts in ICAM's versus the bill of entries. OMC lifted amounts in ICAM's versus tax paid, on the Ghana.gov platform. And then OMC with pending liability still lifting.
Okay, so what's your point?
So my point is that the KPMG work established that the work that they were commissioned to do was done. The work that they were contracted to do was done. And yesterday, the GRA itself came out to confirm that every part of the scope of work that was given SML to execute were executed to perfection. I don't think the Office of the Special Prosecutor understands the work and scope of revenue collection in the downstream sector better than the Ghana Revenue Authority. They do not have that capacity. As part of the investigation, they would have to rely on GRA officers, MPA officers, to ascertain if the work that SML said they had done had indeed been done. So if the GRA is coming out to say that this work was done, and the independent auditing firm, which were contracted by the Akuffo government, have also come out to confirm that the work was done, and actually there was a revenue increment of what? 2.4 billion, out of which about 29% based on the contract went to SML. What is Jabin going to court for? What is he going to court over? What financial loss has been occasioned?
I'll come to you.
What financial loss has been caused? He talks about procurement breaches. Yes, it is allowed in law that when, because of some circumstances, and we can fault GRA or whoever did that contract without going through the procurement process for, not going by the law. I will not come here and defend anybody who, flouts the Public Procurement Authority law or the Act. But what did they do? They went for ratification in 2019 or so, knowing very well that the processes for getting approval to do the contract had not been completed. And ratification is allowed in the Public Procurement Act.
I'm reading the report.
Yeah.
The KPMG report. The KPMG report, okay. The detailed, the 306-page report.
All right.
I'm reading from page 113. Under the contracting methodology.
Right.
19 out of 21, 5.3.
Yeah.
It says in point G.
Yes.
That one of the things that they uncovered was that there was no requirement for performance reviews under the contracts. H. Fees under the relevant contracts are not directly tied to performance milestones and or the value derived from the SML's activities. And these are the things that the OSP is not fighting or is not arguing against the audit reports. The OSP is saying that when you pick the contract itself, it seems that the contractual terms and the agreement, the reasons why the people were engaged, there are loopholes in there. That's why he needs the finance minister to come and explain. I think that's what he's asking.
Well, I don't see him getting any proper conviction based on I've not been able to read the full KPMG report, neither have I been able to read the full OSP report. But from the executive summary I've read and the research I have done, I don't see any financial loss in it because government even owes SML for work that they did, some work that they did last year. The contract has been abrogated, right? Fair, fine. It is a government right to abrogate any contract. They just have to go by the right processes to ensure that there is no judgment that in future or any cost to the state as we have happening when contracts are abrogated without the due process. But as far as they did ratification per the Procurement Act, and as far as the Ghana Revenue Authority, who would be, I don't know if they will be a witness for the accused or they will be a prosecution witness. In this case, I don't think they will serve as a prosecution witness because their account is opposite of what the OSP is saying.
Right.
They are confirming that we give the scope of work to SML, and per our analysis and experts monitoring and measurement, we believe that the key performance indicators that we give the SML has been achieved.
Okay.
What basis are you going to
I think
use to say that they've caused any financial loss?
In the press statement or the press release by the SML,
yeah.
I think it was done 31st October yesterday.
Yeah.
I would just touch on the point 4. No, the point 4. titled "Questioning the Basis of the 125 Million Recovery Claim." SML questions the basis of, and I think that's what Kofi is saying. SML questions the basis of the purported 125 million Ghana cedis to be recovered by the state, as evidence on record clearly indicates otherwise. In fact, the state owes SML.
Exactly.
Official statements on verified performance data and financial reconciliations are available directly from the GRA. SMS revenue assurance audit systems were developed entirely at its own cost and risk, without any financial support from the state. To date, our systems remain the first of its kind, fully integrated, multi-site digital audit and assurance systems in the world. This integrated audit system in the downstream petroleum operational chain has generated approximately 20 billion Ghana cedis in verified revenue for the state, as corroborated by the respective Bank of Ghana Petroleum Collective Holding Account. The system has led to a 92% increase in taxable volumes, which is what Kofi mentioned earlier, while SML's transaction audit service has further contributed to a 33% rise in import clearance revenue collection across the monitored sectors. For context, SML audited the customs classification and valuation reports, the final output from the West Blues platform. This exercise led to corrective actions and strengthened oversight by the GRA. Okay, so Doc, subsequent to the OSP making his public announcement, we heard that the president has instructed for the contract, for no dealings with SML, every type of contract to be terminated. Now, considering that his SML and even Ken Oforiatta themselves are yet to make their day in court, this termination isn't not premature, or it's in the right of the president to do that since there's this speculation?
Well, first of all, I don't know the basis upon which the president took that decision. I only will assume that it is as a result of the press conference by the OSP. But I would like to approach it from a different perspective. First, I will be the first person to speak for, especially private sector, locally established company owned by Ghanaians. However, I think that we have to be circumspect the way we are bashing the OSP. I do not disagree with his approach. I mean, we say sunshine. It's very important that he shares with the public what he has found. And this does not bar the private sector company, in this case SML, for also using same medium to defend itself publicly, which they have done. They've issued, I think, a 4- or 5-page press release, also stating its case. So I think that politically we should not bash the OSP and push them to speed up prosecution when they are not convinced that they have a case. And this, we should learn from our political history. You know, under the AFRC era, people were not tried, were shot. And we all spoke against it. I mean, some of us were not born then, but when we read political history, we felt that it was injustice. So I don't think it is right for us to rush or push the special prosecutor to, rush to the court with prosecution. They should take their time, and Ghanaians should be patient for everybody to be given a fair trial. And in that respect, the OSP needs time to do its work. But back to the substantial matter, I think that, you see, what we suffer from is widespread across all sectors. The trade facilitation landscape or ecosystem is, if you look at what happens at the customs level, we have too many players doing similar or same jobs. And that is, I think, one of the anchors of the OSP's case, that if you analyze the ecosystem technically, you realize that the job that GRA wanted to be done did not require starting another procurement process, because you could have added the scope to an existing supplier or service provider, or customs, could have also set up a new department or train its people or invest in the infrastructure to do that work. Because value for money is what the OSP, I think, is fighting for. And it is not only this OSP. If you remember when West Blue was contracted by customs, in 2014 thereabout, the Damkwa Institute, which Kofi is very proud to associated with, fought the inclusion of West Blue, because the argument was that West Blue was not coming to do any job that will add value to customs operation. But you see, to hang your case on the fact that when they started their work, there was an increment in revenue over 2.1 billion. In my view, it's oversimplification of the matter, because there could be other factors accounting for that. Have we checked the volume of crude oil during the period that Kofi or the report was alluding to? That is very key. The fact that there was a significant jump in revenue doesn't mean that it was as a result of the inclusion of work of SML. The report needs to go beyond that and look at factors that contributed to that. And I think I do not have the benefit of seeing that. Another point is that we must also build our state institutions, to perform certain functions. I think that, it's good to have third-party involvement in trying to promote transparency and value for money. But the customs unit of GRA must invest in regenerating itself to undertake certain very strategic functions of its own operation. Because you have very senior people, and Kofi said, when it comes to the technicalities, obviously, it's the customs people that know their job. And I've had the opportunity to work with them. They are highly competent people. What we do not do is we don't give them opportunity to deliver as expected. And I here agree with the OSP. And Kofi, you see, you should understand his case. He is not looking at the benefit of the post-benefit. He is saying that the process that you went through in procuring this service provider, you didn't go through the due process.
And I don't see anything wrong with the process.
Yes, you may not, because, you feel that it's your government or a minister under your government but you see, if you look at that, if I'm an ordinary person sitting somewhere in my village, I will see that this is purely orchestrated. Purely orchestrated, because the process of ratification is enshrined in law, of course. But you can leverage that to your own selfish interest. And you could see that is the argument of OSP. These are, it doesn't necessarily. But of course, we are a nation, so we should be interested in morality.
If you keep responding to me,
no, don't worry. Yes, of course. So I think that we should, in fact, look at it from a very holistic point. No too much politics, because I happen to know a lot of people involved, and I've worked with about 3 of the parties, Colonel Damwa, when he was Customs Commissioner. I've also worked with some of the Special Commissioner Cranston. They are fine gentlemen. And I believe that we should give them opportunity to state their case. They can do it in public before they go to court. And the OSP is not buying them from doing that. But I would also like to state that we need to also understand that, be it as it may, when government changes, some of the collateral benefits we get is these investigations and uncovering, these monumental, fraud cases. And what I would say is that Kenyans should understand that believing in the pendulum swing, giving it to MPP, giving it to NDC, will not ensure that we benefit from that. Because as Kojo said, when this current Attorney General took over, there are cases that you could see he should have continued to a logical conclusion, but he didn't. For what reason? Very political reason. And MPP also will do the same when they get opportunity. Members of Parliament from the MPP have stated that they will do the same. So we have the benefit as Ghanaians. Ghanaians, I'm looking you in the eye. I'm telling you, let's stop this pendulum swing. That's giving it to MPP 8 years, it goes to NDC and back and forth. We will not benefit. And the way to go is to tell them that we have the power. And we decide that who leads our country and ensure the appropriate allocation of our resources to our benefit.
Thank you. So we've been joined online by Professor Kwabena Safo Kantanka. He's a Dean Faculty of Arts, UCC, Political and Parliamentary Discourse Analyst. Prof, good morning.
Good morning,
Okay, I hope you're doing well.
Hello, good morning, Kojo.
Yeah, Doc. Sorry.
I'm doing very well, yeah.
Great.
Kojo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me too?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay. I don't know whether you've been following, but we are discussing the GRA SML contract, the OSP's public announcements, and then also the president's decision to
Ojibre edihwe dwumadi wi ebedrum purpose we yedo bibia ase ahamum Ghana politics avenue so ugusu hwe dwumadi no sene wani age sene ye odai like share subscribe na unuanom share ma unuanom namfo obusuafo obi anso nsa entumi enkebi yeda obibia ase ebusuafo operation recover all loot oral team no na omastorming OSP so tisia ne de na asem ne de edutwem ebusuafo yenjo bibia rambram so ha ene emam kwan se me information mo nsem kaye bi nso a mo fa hye comment section ho se ne ye be ya ebetimi ne mo adi ho nkitawde me da obibia ase na ha ene embre emam kwan se me information makram